Out of... Got it! Hello?
Hello?
Yes? Dude, just answer. I'm not good with awkward silence.
Who is this?
Who is this? Wait. This seems really, really familiar. Let's fast forward a little bit. You're gonna ask me a question, and it's probably gonna be like, what's your favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary movie?
God damn it, I'm Drew Barrymore, aren't I? Look, if you're gonna kill me, just come out and do it. I've accepted my fate. Well, that was dramatic. Hi, let's talk Scream 7. I absolutely adore the Scream franchise. I've seen all the movies and even watched the MTV TV series. It's just so self-aware, but not in a Deadpool sort of way. More of a spoof? If you're familiar with the Scream movies, you'll know that real-life horror movies exist in the Scream universe. There are mentions of Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, and Scream 7, there's a movie theater marquee that advertises the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because these movies exist in this universe, you have characters that understand the tropes of horror movies and what to do to survive them. If you've seen Scream 1, you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna get sidetracked, so enough talking about the franchise as a whole. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Scream 7. How was it? Honestly, fantastic. It was a true return to form for the series. Scream 5 was fine as a movie. It was a reintroduction to the franchise and served as a narrative on movie remakes or modernizations of classic slasher horror movies and how they're overdone and, more often than not, fail miserably. That's where that self-awareness comes into play, because that's what Scream 5 was. It was a modern adaptation of a classic slasher and played on that idea. And then there's Scream 6. We don't talk about Scream 6. No. I want to talk about Scream 6 for a moment. How the hell did it get a 77% certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes and a 90% audience score? Out of all the Scream movies, I felt like it was the weakest film of the 7. And 4 was pretty bad. One of the things that irked me was Ghostface using a shotgun. There's a scene from Scream 6 that reminds me of this quote from Overly Sarcastic Productions.
Could you picture this Batman comforting a scared child? If yes, congratulations, this is a certified Batman. If not, I'm afraid you instead have the Punisher in a silly hat.
Let's frame it like this. Could you picture Ghostface using a gun? If you said no, congratulations, you have a successful Ghostface. If you said yes, that's not Ghostface, that's just a Purge wannabe in a Halloween costume. Ghostface is known for his Buck 120 General hunting knife, just like Freddy Krueger is known for his clawed glove, Michael Myers is known for the huge kitchen knife, and Jason is known for using pretty much anything as a weapon because that man is a literal demon. I could keep going, but this review isn't about Scream 6, it's about Scream 7. Moving along. Now, as always, spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Scream 7 but want to, go see the movie, then come back to this review. If you don't care, then by all means continue watching because I'm just going to go through the entire movie. Scream 7 opens with a couple pulling up to the iconic Mocker house from Scream 1, which has been turned into a museum for the in-universe Stab franchise, which is based off of the things that happened to Sidney Prescott in Scream 1 through 4. After a little exploration and a jump scare from an animatronic Ghostface, the real Ghostface appears and kills the couple, then burns the house to the ground. Honestly, it really sets a precedent for the story. It said, we're going to take your nostalgia and burn it to the ground. Literally. So, the movie follows Sidney Prescott's daughter, Tatum, as she has to live her life as the daughter of Sidney Prescott, meaning she has a lot to live up to. Even her drama teacher pulls her to the side and basically tells her,
"You're just too timid and shy. to think you're Sidney Prescott's daughter. She was a force to be reckoned with. You're not. Find your inner Sidney. Don't be yourself. Be your mom.
If I had a drama teacher that told me that, I would have socked him. So we're introduced to our new cast of characters. Tatum's boyfriend, Ben, also known as Gen Z Billy Loomis. Sidney's husband, Joel McHale, who is the chief of police in Pine Grove. Oh yeah, by the way, we're not in Woodsboro anymore. That's over, that's done. There's the best friends, Hannah and Chloe, and crime-obsessed, Sidney-obsessed neighbor boy, Lucas. Skip, blah blah blah, angsty teen and troubled mom trope stuff. Sidney talks to her friend Jessica, the mother of neighbor boy Lucas, about boundaries with your children and stuff like that. Skip. Sidney goes to her office and gets a call from a Woodsboro number. Surprise! It's Ghostface! After recording the conversation, she hangs up, but then a FaceTime call pops up on her Mac. She answers it, and it's Stu Macher, as in TV smash face Stu Macher from Scream 1. What a surprise! Some taunting later, and we get to our first kill of the quote-unquote main cast. So, after a stagehand gets a nice new necklace from a knife, Hannah's left hanging in the sky on a contraption used to simulate flying for stage performances. She begins getting tossed around like a ragdoll. Ghostface shows up, slashes at her a couple times as she's, swinging back and forth, and on the final swing, she gets gutted. It was kinda gnarly. Skip. Sidney, Tatum, and Joel McHale head home to pack to leave. Surprise! Ghostface is in the attic. After some shenanigans throughout the house and on the street, Ghostface gets run over by an Infiniti SUV. Not only was he hit, but they also ran over his body with each individual tire to make sure he was dead. So, who's driving the Infiniti? Why, it's none other than Gale Weathers, alongside the brother-sister duo from Scream 5 and 6 as her assistants. Talkie, and it's now time to unmask Ghostface, because he is very dead. And it's... nobody we know? What? What do you mean it's just some guy we saw once in Sidney's coffee shop and never again? Well, so long then, serial killer Carl. That's one Ghostface down, and if we continue the tradition like from the previous movies, that leaves one killer left. With that out of the way, the brother-sister duo decide to help Tatum figure out who the other killer is because they know the rules. They've been through this before, twice. Our current suspects, again, are Gen Z Billy Loomis, Chloe, and creepy neighbor boy. Hey, at least we know it's not Hannah. Except we can't really rule her out, because they pulled the dead friend is actually Ghostface thing in Scream 6. So, they all meet up at Chloe's parents' bar. In the meantime, Sidney and Gale investigate the mental institution Carl escaped from. They meet one of the nurses, who takes them to Carl's room. Sidney shows the nurse a picture of Stu, and he says,
That's John. As in, John Doe? Just showed up out of the blue with scars all over his face. No memory whatsoever. He and Carl were close friends in here.
Shocker. Okay, so where is John Doe?
Oh, he was released a few weeks ago.
Well, now it's really looking like Stu is back from the dead. Back to Tatum and friends. Interrogations begin and go absolutely nowhere. So, back to Sidney and Gale. They decide to go to the news station so Gale can interview Sidney so they can try and bait out Stu into contacting them because caller ID tracking and shit. So, they do. Shit gets awkward during the interview, and Sidney decides to stop. After the interview abruptly ends, then Stu FaceTimes Sidney. Turns out he's outside of Chloe's parents' bar. Sidney starts running to the bar because she can't steal Gale's car. This was my first, okay, this is kinda dumb moment of the movie. All she had to do was wait for Gale. But no, we need to show that Sidney's the strong, independent final girl we all know she is. Back to the teens. Tatum and Gen Z Billy Loomis leave to go find Sidney at the news station. They get inside his Jeep and she notices something on his computer. It's him in front of a green screen recording a video as the caller and AIs himself as Stu. Uh-oh, it was Gen Z Billy Loomis. Tatum clocks Ben with the laptop and leaves.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Oh shit, Ghostface is outside waiting for her. Tatum books it out of there and starts running through the town. Cut to inside. Chloe goes to the kitchen and neighbor boy goes to the bathroom. Never split up. Inside the kitchen, Chloe hears weird noises and... What? It's Ghostface? But I thought Ghostface was chasing Tatum. Okay, real talk for a second. I really wish I remembered more about how this scene went, but I don't, so I'm just gonna skim it and say, brother gets stabbed in the shoulder accidentally by Chloe, sister gets her stomach slashed by Ghostface, Chloe gets tossed across the bar through a conveniently stacked pile of glasses and gets a large chunk of glass stuck conveniently in her jugular, and neighbor boy, after being stabbed in the kitchen by Ghostface, gets picked up like he's nothing and had his head run through a beer pourer with a steeple on it. For the extra gross factor, his mouth was open and beer started pouring out of his mouth, and it eventually combined with his blood. That was an image. Back to Tatum, and she's running through the town yelling for help. Convenient there aren't any cops around when they should be patrolling for curfew. Anyway, more Final Girl-esque shenanigans, and Tatum finds her mom's coffee shop, unlocks the door with the code, goes inside, and hides. Tatum gets a call from Sydney, which alerts Ghostface outside. Sydney tells Tatum to go to her office because there's a gun in the safe. Okay, cool. Tatum gets up and starts heading to the office. Tap, tap, tap. Ghostface is at the door and uses the code to get in? Tatum books it to the office and barricades the door. She gets the gun and starts pointing it around. Conveniently, Sydney has real-time access to the security cameras in the coffee shop and uses that to tell Tatum where to shoot through the wall. After firing like 6 or 7 shots into Ghostface, he's down. Tatum unbarricades herself and goes to leave, failing to put a bullet in Ghostface's head. Uh-oh, second Ghostface is at the door, and the other one behind her gets up, and she's kidnapped. So, turns out we have 3 Ghostfaces in this movie. Skip, 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 and Sydney runs home and into the backyard where Tatum is tied up like Drew Barrymore's boyfriend in Scream 1. And here we get our first, or I guess second, unmasking, and it's... the nurse from the mental facility? He calls out Stu's name, and here comes Ghostface number, I guess, 3? No unmasking yet. Talkie-talkie, and the nurse drags out the bleeding body of Joel McHale after he was stabbed 7 times in the chest. Now, as I was writing the script, I realized I forgot to mention that part of the movie. Whatever. After that, we get our second, or, this is so confusing, third unmasking, and it's neighbor boy's mom, Jessica? Okay, what the hell? Here's where I feel like it sort of went downhill, and I'll eventually explain why. After giving her reasoning on why she did all this and how she and Nurse Dude used AI to bring Stu back from the dead, quote, quote, Joel McHale frees Tatum with his pocket knife and she headbutts Jessica. Sydney shoots the nurse in the head and Jessica runs off. Sydney gives chase into the part of the house that's getting renovated. Some fighting ensues and Sydney loses her gun. In the end, Sydney stabs Jessica in the leg multiple times with the screwdriver and then shanks her in the stomach multiple times. She's dead. Tatum catches up with Sydney and they start their mother-daughter bond. Jessica jump scare! And this was honestly my favorite part of the movie. Sydney and Tatum unload their magazines into Jessica's face, blowing off chunks and leaving her, well, faceless. So, who are our survivors? Well, Sydney, Tatum, Joel McHale somehow, Gail, and the brother-sister duo. And that's it. That's the movie. Now, was it a perfect movie? No. But it was still super entertaining. So, here are my problems with the movie. First, while Sydney is the final girl, the overarching hero of the Scream franchise, This movie really should have been about Tatum and how she overcomes not being like Sydney. That doesn't happen. She ends up just like Sydney, and somehow that's what fixes their strained relationship? I get trauma bonding, but that's kinda dumb. Secondly, I wish we knew who was which Ghostface after Carl was. For example, if the nurse was the one who went after Tatum, then there was absolutely no way Jessica was picking up and tossing around those teens like they're nothing. And that especially goes for Neighbor Boy's death. And that's actually where that problem lies. Do they just have some sort of supernatural strength that allows them to pick a person up just by their head like they're nothing? Unless you're a bodybuilder or pro lifter, that's damn near impossible. And third, the ending feels dumb. Joel McHale should have been dead, either after being stabbed 7 times in the chest, or from bleeding out everywhere after being stabbed 7 times in the chest. And using the excuse that he's exceptionally resilient is stupid, plain and simple. Now, let's look at the scenario if he were actually dead. If he were dead, then Tatum wouldn't have been freed, and the entire ending would have changed. My best guess, it would have ended in Sydney's death and Tatum becoming the new final girl, which was Jessica's plan. So, I guess that would mean a Ghostface dub? Or, in her dying moments, as Jessica and the nurse are leaving, Sydney cuts off the duct tape holding Tatum, she frees herself, takes her mom's gun, and shoots Jessica and the nurse in the head. Now, I see why they kept Joel McHale alive, but I don't like it. Here's the interesting thing. This was the revised ending after test screenings showed people didn't like how the movie ended. While there weren't exact details about how it ended, it was confirmed that Stu actually lived and it wasn't AI at all. Having Stu live would have made the ending more cathartic, seeing as this is the final movie of the franchise. Supposedly. Instead, we got AI deepfakes of Matthew Lillard and surprise cameos from David Arquette, Laurie Metcalf, and Scott Foley as AI deepfakes of their respective characters from Scream 1 through 3. I get trying to keep the movie modern by including AI, but no one likes AI. And if you do, you're a plague on this world. Well, that's my take on the movie. For what it's worth, it was good. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. So this is a different format than my Iron Lung review, so if you like this format, I'll keep doing it like this. If you want me to go back to the other format, let me know. I have fun making these videos. Oh, before I go, let me ask you something.
What's your favorite scary movie?